Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beasts episode number 17. In this battle we've got Mortaxe the Skeleton Warrior with his second battle of the series and towards the end of the round again. Not the last one but near the end again. Maybe he'll be the last one next round or maybe he'll be first. I don't know, depends. I normally try and order the rounds in order of least interesting to the most interesting, in my opinion. So yeah, so next one should be interesting, and so yeah, I should have said both competitors before I went on that tangent. But yeah, we got Mortaxe the Skeleton Warrior versus Scalamanx the Fiery Fury. Scalamanx's first battle was this one. It's this one, so hopefully it doesn't end too bad for him. So a little bit of what I'm gonna say. I don't even know what I'm going to say. So the battle here, I'm actually going to... Now the location, I'm actually going to say is going to be in King Hugo's palace. So not in palace, but like the courtyard area. So surrounded by houses, innocent little villages, and obviously the castle. Now you understand why I chose that later, but that's if you get the reference towards the end of it. So this is one of the few battles where I have a good idea on how it's going to end. So unfortunately, this may not be like as random as others are, but the fight isn't planned. The ending is kind of planned, though. So, let's get into this battle. So, as I said, in King Hugo's palace, Mortaxe, being the new guard of Avantia, is just wandering around the city, making sure everything's in order. All the citizens are just staring up at him in fear, shock, or any word you could think of where people just be frozen. Suddenly, a rumbling... Mortaxe feels a little rumbling coming from his feet. He looks into the distance and sees earth-like chunks just creating an upside-down U shape coming towards him. And let's say 20 foot away from... When it's 20 foot away from Mortaxe, the ground just erupts up and Scalamanx crawls out, roaring at the top of his lungs towards Mortaxe, trying to intimidate him. Mortaxe just stood there unmoving and braces himself ready to defend the city, even though there's a giant gaping hole there. But I think Avantia needs a well, maybe a little pond. Yeah, a duck pond sounds nice. Okay, moving on. That was the most random thing I've ever said. Okay. And I said a lot of random stuff on this channel. Okay, they lock eyes with each other and they charge towards each other immediately. Scalamanx on all 4 feet. Right before they're about to collide, Scalamanx veers to the left and whipping Mortaxe with his tail, tripping Mortaxe over. Scalamanx turns around and climbs on top of him, pinning him down. Mortaxe tries to wriggle himself free, but is having lots of trouble trying to get up. Scalamanx raises one of his claws and slices down on Mortaxe's back. Mortaxe yells in pain. Tries to reach for his scythe, which is just barely out of his reach. But as Scalamanx lifts his paw again, he realises he can stretch his arm out a bit further and literally reach across. So he calls on all the strength in his body already and reaches for his scythe, which he does. Turns it round to where the blade is pointing towards the sky and brings his arm back to where... basically like that. But he doesn't bring it all the way, otherwise he would have stabbed himself. But he does that to where it stabs Scalamanx in the shoulder, where Scalamanx crawls off Mortaxe in pain, giving Mortaxe time to get up and swing his scythe, going towards the side of Mortaxe's jaw, but just barely missing. Because Scalamanx moved back just in time. Scalamanx whips his tail to try and catch hold of Mortax's scythe, whilst Mortax swings his scythe again. And the collision, nothing interesting happens because Mortax missed Scalamanx's tail with the blade, but hits it with the tail, which Scalamanx wraps his tail around and just pulls out of Mortax's grip. And then after swinging it around in his tail a few times, throws it right towards Mortax, so the whole thing's spinning towards him. Mortax hits the deck as quick as he can, and as soon as it flies above him, he gets back up, turns around to see the chaos that's unfolded from the scythe being swung, and a few houses have been destroyed, a well that was right behind Mortax, conveniently, and a few other stuff have been destroyed from the scythe. Mortax runs to go and grab it, but Scalamanx is a lot faster and slithers or crawls his way towards that scythe again, and does the same thing going towards Mortax. And this time Mortax hits the deck, but raises his arm just in time to catch the scythe, preventing it from destroying any houses behind Mortax, which is kind of, thinking about it, not the best idea for it to be in a city, because Mortax is protecting the city, even though he is an evil beast. Whatever, this is a random series. Anything that I say is unfortunately now part of this world. This is an alternate dimension where Mortax is good. But, moving on. Scalamanx, realising that Mortax now has his weapon, he decides to have a really good idea. He wraps his tail around a nearby market stall and chucks it towards Mortax. Mortax is quick and uses his scythe to just slice it open, causing it to break and not hit him at all. But however, whilst Mortax was occupied with the market stall, Scalamanx is gone from sight, leaving a giant gaping hole where he left. Where he just was. Mortax then gets the idea to take the roof of a nearby house and dip it into a nearby pond and just pour it down the hole to, you know how some predators, well, you know how a forest fire smokes out animals that live in burrows. It's like that, but with water. That's what Mortax is doing to Scalamanx, because fire. So Scalamanx is digging his way out through a hole, digging his burrow to try and get away from the water. He leads up to his other hole to where he pops out to start the battle. However, Mortax saw that coming, and after two roofs full of water going into the hole, Mortax is already waiting to greet Scalamanx at that second hole, to where he slices the scythe down, slicing off one of Scalamanx's paws. And Scalamanx howls in pain, realising he can't go back though because of the water and he has to move quickly. He scurries out of the hole, moving away as quick as he can, limping a bit. And because he's a lizard, they do have the ability, I don't think they can regrow limbs. But the limbs still remain full of life for a lot longer than, let's say, my hand would if it got chopped off. So what Scalamanx's new plan is that whilst he's scurrying away, he wraps his tail around Mortax's leg and pulls as hard as he can, pulling Mortax into the pit where Scalamanx's leftover hand is, or paw is, to where Scalamanx's paw gets on top of Mortax and starts scratching and stabbing with its claws. Mortax, really not really feeling the pain because of his armour, picks up the paw and chucks it over the wall of Avantia, where it lands in a little lake, in a little pond outside of the city walls. Actually, no, it lands in the moat. To where it just stays there wiggling for a bit to where it just gets lifeless and just floats to the top of the pond. Moats. So, whilst that was happening, Mortaxe turns around to see Scalamanx. They both glare at each other, and whilst Mortaxe is getting out of the pit, Scalamanx is charging towards Mortaxe, where Scalamanx hits Mortaxe square into the chest, and Scalamanx just pushing Mortaxe through a bunch of houses into the wall, pushing him against the wall but not breaking it, just scraping him along the sides of it. And then Scalamanx wraps his tail around Mortaxe's chest, and with all this might just throws Mortaxe into the walls of King Hugo's palace. Now, you thought the landlord for the combat arena is going to be feeling the dents in his wallet. This is a bigger dent. These are people's houses and the palace as well. Leaving a gaping hole into the palace, destroying probably the front door and a couple walls as well. Mortaxe gets back up, a bit winded, and side note, if you're wondering why Mortaxe is being thrown around as easily as he is, that has to do with the amount of beasts that's actually dead. As I said before this specials tournament started, Mortaxe does get weaker as more beasts die, because he gets the strength from the amount of beasts which are alive. And yes, that was in the combat arena in his book, but because I'm changing environments, that has changed to the beast that competes in this tournament. So yeah, Mortaxe is getting a bit weaker. Scalamanx is at his full still, but back to the battle. Mortaxe gets back up, obviously winded. Scalamanx is scurrying towards Mortaxe to try and attack him again. Mortaxe, losing track of his scythe, can't seem to find it, sees it behind Scalamanx, and realises he's going to have to make his way towards that scythe, past Scalamanx, just in order to get it. So what he does is, Mortaxe braces for the impact for Scalamanx to charge at him again, and right before Scalamanx is about to impact on Mortaxe leaps out of the way, causing Scalamanx to barrel himself right into a wall, of a very important wall of the structure of the palace, to where a big chunk just collapses down on Scalamanx. Scalamanx is immobilised for a while, but still making his way out rather quickly, Mortaxe strides towards his scythe as quick as he can, and right when he's a few feet away from it, he turns around briefly to see Scalamanx just burst out of the rubble, scurrying towards Mortaxe. Mortaxe, as quick as he can, grabs hold to the scythe, and Scalamanx is right on top of, not literally, but very close to Mortaxe, and he swings his scythe round to where it hits Scalamanx square in the forehead, knocking him back down. And right before Scalamanx is able to get back up, Mortaxe steps on top of Scalamanx to where he can't really move now. Bit of a link back to the start of the fight. And Mortaxe, now this does get a bit weird, but trust me on this, uses his thoughts and sends it to Scalamanx. And let's say the red jewel is... I'm going to assume that the beasts can communicate with each other. So, Mortaxe says to Scalamanx, take a look around all the rubble at all the chaos you have caused. All the lives he has taken, all the civilization he has destroyed. Mortaxe then says, the crime you have committed this night shan't go unpunished. You'll reap what you sow. He raised his scythe, swings it down, decapitating Scalamanx entirely. His head rolls off into the pond that started it all, and Scalamanx is roaring, yelling, screeching to the point where the sound just died out. His body goes lifeless, and the fire all over Scalamanx's body just fades away. Mortaxe drags the remains of the body into the moat and pushes it in just to fizz it out completely. And with that being said, Mortaxe has won this battle. Scalamanx has lost. This was now unfortunately not very exciting because I already had a plan for how this was going to end. And the thoughts and the last line that Mortaxe said to Scalamanx was a reference to a TV show which I watch and I absolutely love. And it's actually another link to the episode, Ghost Types. It's linking to a Halloween special of that episode and a line that a character said in it. And quite frankly, I'm really glad Mortaxe had a scythe because it fits in very well with it as well. I needed Scalamanx to do something though, which kind of led to what is considered a really big crime. So destroying Avantia, pretty much. This is what the finale of Beast Quest has to be, and yeah, obviously not with Mortaxe being a good beast, but I needed to pull a few strings. But beasts can communicate with each other, so yay. I'm actually glad how this fight turned out. A bit anticlimactic because I planned for Mortaxe to win, but ignoring that, it was a good fight. If you disagree and think Scalamanx should have won, please leave your comments below why you think that. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say. That being, Mortaxe gets... I said it myself. Mortaxe gets weaker with the more beasts that are dead. But don't worry. I have a plan for what's going to happen when the beasts get to... the final... When they get to the final four. And if Mortaxe is still in the running to being the winner. But with that being said... That's all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe. Join me in episode 18 of Battle of the Beast, which I do not know when it'll be filmed, but know this. The final 3 beasts that have yet to battle in round 2, and one of them will be skipping out, is Kreta, Raksha, or Jakara. 2 of them will be battling, 1 of them will be skipping to round 3. Leave your comments below. Leave your predictions below in the comments section on which beast you think will be skipping round 2. But with that being said, I'll see you next time.